So what's good, everybody? It's Cuda here, or Kian. Welcome back to the channel. I have a really bad habit of just not uploading videos, and I really need to get back into it. It's not really a New Year's resolution or anything, but I low-key just want to get back into telling stories. It's been a long time. My last couple videos have done really well, so I figured, fuck it, let's tell a story. I just have a good feeling about this story. I think you guys are really going to like it. This story takes place back in college, my freshman year to be specific, and the last story I told that was from freshman year of college was pretty crazy. It's going to be hard to one-up it, but we'll see what we can do here. But yeah, guys, Happy New Year's. Hope everyone is doing well. My last video was like 10 months ago, so I hope the last 10 months of your life was pretty good. I know mine's been interesting. I have a few story times from that time that I took off. So it wasn't for nothing. But yeah, man, we're back. Better than ever. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump right into it. So as I said before, this story takes place back in freshman year of college. If you guys didn't know, that was back in 2021. Now, 2021 was a very interesting year for me. That was the year that I graduated high school. That was the year I went to college. I was a freshman. My first semester was at the end of 2021. So it was definitely an interesting year. I had a lot going on. A lot of story times from that year, both at the end of my high school career and at the beginning of my college career. I say career like I got drafted to the MLB, but you guys know what I mean. But anyways, yeah, 2021 was a pretty crazy year. I've told some stories from this year, but I still have a lot in the vault that I'm really looking forward to sharing with you guys. Got some good ones on the way, so stay tuned. But yeah, point is, 2021, pretty crazy year. You guys are about to hear about one of the crazier times in 2021. So let's jump right into it. So it all started off as a normal day back in 2021. I was a freshman in college at this time. As I said, I was in my first semester, so this was kind of at a time where I was still figuring things out when it came to school, but I was starting to get comfortable with going to class, understanding, what was expected of me. And also, something to note about me at this time is I was a bit of a smoker. So as you guys know, if you've watched a few of my videos, I went through phases with weed. I wasn't really always super into it, but there were also points in my life where I was. In freshman year of college, I absolutely was. And I mean, that was kind of to be expected. I was freshman year of college. I had just moved out. I was living in the dorms. I had pretty easy access to getting some. So everything just kind of fell into place for me to be able to do it more often. So yeah, as I said, this all started off as a normal day. I got up in the morning. I remember it was a Friday, so I didn't really have much going on this day. I got up, I got showered, I got dressed, headed off to class, had 3 classes back to back to back, came home, and I did not have shit going on this night. It was a Friday. I never really liked to party, still don't. So a lot of the plans for Friday were my friends going out to the clubs with their fake IDs and stuff, but I never really liked to do that. Now, there are exceptions to this. I didn't never go out, but I definitely didn't do it as much as maybe other people did. And on this night, I was definitely not planning to go out. Now you're probably wondering, Cuda, why didn't you want to go out on this night? And honestly, I probably didn't have a reason. I don't remember if I had a reason, but the reason I don't remember is because I probably didn't have a reason. A lot of the times when I was in college, I really just didn't like to go out, and I still really don't. It's not really like a college thing. I don't like to go out to bars. I'm kind of socially awkward. So if I'm going out, it's either for a birthday or another reason to kind of go out and celebrate. And I had a few friends like this too that didn't really like to go out in clubs, so on nights like this where a bunch of my friends were going out, I would choose to hang out with them instead and kind of kick it in our dorm or go and do something around campus. And that's exactly what I did on this night. So like I said, I was sitting in my room after class. A couple of hours had passed and I was probably just playing Xbox or something, chilling in my dorm room like I usually did. And all of a sudden, as I'm sitting there chilling in my room, I get a text from Steve. Now, if you guys have watched any of my other videos, I think 2 or 3 of them have Steve in them. But if you didn't, Steve ended up being my roommate my second year at college, but he lived down the hall my freshman year, and we were best friends pretty much all through college. And now Steve was definitely pretty similar to me. He was kind of an introvert, but he was definitely a little more outgoing about going to the clubs. And as we kind of progressed through our college careers, he definitely opened up to the idea and started partying a lot more. But this takes place at a time when he was not really going out to the bars very much. And so I opened my phone, answered the text from Steve. It said, "Yo, what's up, man? What are you doing tonight?" And I was like, "Not shit. What are you doing?" And he was like, "I am not doing anything either, man. You want to hang out?" And I was like, bet. Now I had plans. Now I can actually do something. I can stop being a hermit in my room, playing Xbox, doing nothing. And the night was still young, so we had a lot of time to kind of figure things out, kind of plan what we wanted to do for the night. So a couple minutes goes by, and I hear a knock on my door. I open the door. Steve's standing there. Dap each other up, say what's up. He comes inside. We sit down. We're kind of sitting there together now, bored, not really knowing what to do. And as we're sitting there, kind of figuring out what we wanted to do for the night, there's another knock on my door. And I turned to Steve, and I was like, "Who is that?" And he's like, "I don't know, man." So I got up and I was like, okay, well, let's find out, I guess. So I walked over to the door and I opened it. And it was my boy Marcus standing there. And I was like, what the hell? What are you doing here, man? And now Marcus was me and Steve's friend. He was a relatively new friend at the time. We didn't really know him that well yet, but we were starting to hang out with him a little more. And now another thing to note about Marcus was he lived basically across campus. And now I didn't go to like University of Florida, so the campus wasn't like huge, but it was still like a probably 5 or 10 minute walk. So the fact that Marcus was just kind of standing at my door, like randomly, was a little out of the ordinary. He didn't usually just like come to my door and knock and like say what's up. So I let Marcus in. He immediately comes in and drops his backpack on my desk. And something you should know about Marcus is he was pretty much the weed man. This guy walked around like he was Snoop Dogg. He was pretty much always high, always had some bud on him. And he drops his bag on my desk and he's like, dude, I have to show you what I just picked up. And now immediately I'm like, okay, well, he's definitely talking about weed. And me and Steve are just sitting there like very confused, but also like very much so intrigued. And Marcus like looks back as he's like unpacking his backpack and he's like, what are y'all up to tonight? Because I know what I'm doing. And I was like, oh yeah, what's that? And he's like, I am smoking this fire fucking weed. And I was like, shit, man, where'd you get it? Like, why are you over this way? Because again, he was probably like a 5 or 10 minute walk from his dorm room. Like he wasn't just like right next to his dorm. He was like a good 5 or 10 minutes away. He was like, yeah, I got a new connection over here. Like someone on the 3rd floor. I was like, oh, fire. What's his name? Because I was trying to figure out if I knew him or not. And he was like, no, it's a girl, bro. Like she sells some gas. And I was like, oh shit, what the hell? And so he pulls out this fucking Ziploc bag, like one of the jumbo bags. And this thing is filled to the brim with some fucking like pristine bud. Now it wasn't the best I've ever seen, but it was pretty damn close. It was pretty fire, I'm not gonna lie. And he pulls it out and he starts showing us and he's like, dude, check this out. Look at this, bro. And he starts like pointing to like all the individual nugs on the inside. And me and Steve are just sitting there like in awe, like, damn, like this shit is super fire. And then he goes back over to his book bag and he's like, dude, I got these too. And he pulls out like this little, like, it almost looked like an Altoid tray, but it was filled with pre-rolls. And I looked at Steve, I was like, okay, we're getting lit tonight, aren't we? And he's like rubbing his hands together and he's like, fuck yeah, dude, let's go. And so Marcus like puts everything back in his bag and he's like, all right, man, where should we go? And now here's the thing. We couldn't necessarily smoke in my room. That was kind of a no-go. It was a relatively newer dorm, so like the smoke alarms were pretty sensitive, I'm not gonna lie. We'll talk about how I know that at a later time. That's a story in and of itself, but I knew from experience that we could not do that in my room. So Steve pipes up and he's like, dude, we should just go down by the lake. It's super chill down there. And now the college that I went to was conveniently located on the lake. It was literally on the shoreline of a massive lake in New York. And even more so, my room was pretty much like 30 seconds. Like you walked out the side of the building and you were basically at the shoreline. And people used to go down there all the time and like throw parties and drink and smoke and do a whole bunch of different things. So it wasn't like unusual for this to be a good idea. And now the shoreline of this lake wasn't a beach. There was no sand on it. It was just a bunch of like big ass rocks. And then the water just kind of like faded into the rocks. And then behind the rocks, there was like a big ass cliff with like ladders and some parts had like a stairway. And then it like basically went up to a grass level. And that's where like all the dorms were on that side of campus. Now, again, this was like the perfect spot to be like throwing a party or going to drink or going to smoke or doing anything because the cliff like basically covered you if you're standing by the lake. But since it was the perfect spot to do this, the university police were basically all over it 99% of the time. Like parties would get busted down there pretty much every time they were thrown. And if a university cop suspected that there was someone smoking down there, even like 1 or 2 people down there, they would definitely routinely check down there. This is totally not foreshadowing. Well, maybe a little. But anyways, we pack up our stuff. I grabbed my bong because I had a bong at the time. And Steve grabbed his coat. We all put on our coats and stuff. Mind you, this was upstate New York. This was middle of winter, so it was cold as fuck. And we set off. We walked down the hall. We went down the stairs and popped out the side door, walked towards the lake. Now, at this time, it was like end of fall, beginning of winter, so it was really cold outside, but there was no snow on the ground yet. So we weren't like trudging through any snow. We were just kind of walking on like the frozen grass that was behind my dorm. And so we finally got out there. We walked down these sketchy ass fucking stairs. I don't even want to try to explain how sketchy these things were, but let's just say if you missed one step, you were gonna have a bad day. And it was dark at this point, so we had our flashlights out and we were kind of like slowly making our way down the stairs. We get on the rocks on the side of like the shoreline and we find a nice little cozy spot. We set up, put our bags down, grab all the stuff that we need, and we sparked up. And I'm not gonna lie, we were down there for probably like a half an hour with zero issues. Nobody was bothering us. We weren't being loud. We weren't playing music. Like everything was going perfect. perfectly. We were honestly just chilling for a while, and it was great. We were cracking jokes, we were having a good chat, but of course, good things can't last forever, and everything had to come to a screeching halt. So like I said, we were down there for probably close to a half an hour, maybe a little bit more, and all of a sudden, I look up over at the staircase, because we were probably about 50 to 60 yards away from the staircase at this point, off to the left side. And as I'm looking up there, I see a flashlight. And now, this really wasn't all that unusual. I mean, we use flashlights to get down there, so it probably was just going to be another, like, couple students going down there, probably to drink or smoke or do the same thing we were doing. But no, of course, I was very much so wrong, because the guy started coming down the stairs, and I noticed he was by himself, and then I noticed what he was wearing. Can you take a guess who this guy might have been? If you guessed a university police officer, you are right on the money, because that's who exactly it was. And Steve and Marcus are paying absolutely no attention to this, so I'm like, guys, cop. There's a cop, he's coming, let's go. And as I pointed right up at the cop, he shines his flashlight right at us. Now again, we're like 50 or 60 yards from this guy, so we had a little bit of a head start here. So we quickly all put our stuff back in the bag. I quickly dumped the water right out of my bong. I put all the stuff right back in the bag, and we got up and we booked it in the other direction, like away from the staircase. And as I'm running, by the way, running on these like jagged ass rocks, so it's very sketchy, I hear behind us, stop right now. And I'm like, yep, definitely not stopping now. And now, as I said earlier, we were running away from where we came down. The staircase that we came down was in the other direction of where we were running. But like I said, there was other ways to get up. So there was a couple ladders, another couple staircases. So there were other ways for us to get up if we ran in the other direction. And as we're running, looking for another way to get up and basically away from the cliffside so we could run away from this cop, we hear the cop getting closer. Like we're not gaining ground on him. He's getting closer actually. So we're starting to like really try to move it and really try to run. And Marcus trips and he face plants right onto a rock. And it's at this point where I'm thinking in my head, like, it's clips. We're cooked. We're getting caught. Like, there's no getting out of this one. And so I stop running and I see if Marcus is okay. And I don't know how he did this, but bro hopped right back up and started booking. He's like, dude, don't stop. Let's go. And I'm like, oh shit. All right. And I start running again. And at this point, the cop is like pretty much right behind us. Like, he's literally yelling at us from probably like 10 feet behind us. Like, he's right there. But then we hit a part of the shoreline that was pretty like flat and like it was basically like one big rock. And we gained a lot of that ground back. Like, he was slowly starting to kind of fall behind us and trail behind us a little further. And we were kind of getting away at this point. We weren't fully away at this point, but we were kind of getting to that point where we were starting to lose them a little bit. And we were also getting to the part of the shoreline where there was another way up, like right in front of us. There was another staircase back up to the other side of the cliff. Now, I should mention that we passed a couple ladders and staircases while we were running, but since the cop was so close, we didn't want to go right up, because we didn't want him to basically just follow us and then we'd have to run more. We kind of wanted to like build a lead before we went up so we could lose him a little easier. And that's exactly what we did. We hopped up the staircase. He was probably, at this point, a good 30 yards behind us. So when we got to the top, we were basically out of sight. And so once we got up to the top of the staircase, we started running even more. And we were pretty far from my dorm room at this point. So we had to basically like start to circle back and make our way back to my dorm room. But the problem with this is that cop definitely called in reinforcements. He definitely called in backup. There were definitely other university police officers that were looking for 3 kids, 2 of which had a backpack on. So we kind of had to play it safe. We kind of had to like weave in and out of the buildings and kind of like sneak back to my dorm room. And so we get up to the top. We're like basically still like half running around this building. And it gets to a point where we're pretty confident that we lost the original cop that was chasing us. So we take a minute, we get a breather, we're drinking some water. We had some water with us. And I look over at Marcus and his face has a few cuts on it and he's bleeding. Like, it's not like serious, but it's definitely in need of attention. And he's like, dude, my face fucking hurts so bad. And I was like, all right, let's get back to my dorm. I have a little first aid kit. We'll clean you up. Like, we'll get you right. He's like, all right, bet. So we pop back out around the building. We start walking. We start hiking back, kind of like behind and through the sides of buildings and stuff, kind of trying to stay hidden a little bit. And up in front of us, we see the cop again. We see him walking around with his flashlight. He's looking around. He's looking in like bushes, through trees, and like little alleyways in the buildings and stuff. He's clearly looking for us. And then we looked over at the road and another university police car is pulling up and 2 more cops get out. So we have 3 cops after us at this point. So we kind of stop for a minute and we're like, what should we do? Because this is kind of a shitty situation. We could go back down by the lake and try to like dodge around them, but if they see us down there, then we're kind of trapped again because there's more cops this time. And then they're just going to sit at the entrances and basically wait for us to climb back up and catch us. But if we try to like go around them, they're right there. Like they'll probably see us, we'll probably get caught, and then we're fucked even more. So we could do basically one of two things. We could go back down by the lake and risk getting caught, or we could go onto the street and under the street lights and stuff, and either way wasn't really looking too promising for us. But then a third option presented itself. I remembered that it was Friday night and my roommate was out designated driving for people to go to the bar and stuff all night. And by the way, bro made so much money doing this. Definitely do this if you're going into college and you don't like to go out. So anyways, we backtracked a little bit and I called my roommate up and I was like, dude, we're kind of in a sticky situation. Is there any shot that you can come pick us up and bring us back to our dorm? And he was like, yeah, I got you. Where are you? And I told him where we were and he was on his way. And so about 5 minutes later, my roommate pulls up. He's kind of like on the side of the building and we like sneak around the building and run to his car super quick, hop in, trying not to be seen. And we hopped in and he was like, all right, spill it. What happened? We were all like, dude, you have no idea, man. And we told him the whole story and bro was speechless. He was laughing so hard at us. I probably would be too, honestly, if I was in his situation. But honestly, shout out my roommate though, because he came in so clutch. He dropped us back off right at the front of the dorm building. We hurried up, we rushed inside, got back into my room, and just all took a sigh of relief. We also all agreed that we were not leaving the dorm room for the rest of the night. Marcus was going to stay at my dorm room. Steve only lived down the hall, so he could sleep in his room, but we were all going to stay in the building that we were in. And yeah, for the rest of that night, we basically chilled in my room and didn't really do anything. We were all just happy that we got away and nothing ever came of it. We didn't get any like knocks at our doors or like they didn't like catch us on security cameras or anything since we were down by the lake and there were no cameras down there. We basically got off scot-free. And let me just add, we were super lucky. Like this story time should have gone very differently and honestly it's beyond me how it didn't. But yeah, that's basically the story. I don't know how we got away. Still to this day. I mean, that was kind of wild, but moral of the story is don't run from the cops. I mean, that's just kind of a bad idea no matter what you're doing, even if you're doing something wrong. Like, you should just take it on the chin. Actions have consequences in like 99% of things, so we're very lucky that we didn't get caught and didn't get in heaps of trouble, because we would have. We definitely would have, but I guess that's just how life goes sometimes. But in any event, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, shoot me a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing. I'd really appreciate it. But yeah, thank you guys for watching today's video. It's been real. I've been Cuda, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.